Welcome back, Billiken fans. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. This is the Midtown Madness Podcast. Pete, we have a metric ton of good stuff on this week's episode. A lot to talk about. We're going to kick it off with our first guest, though, in a long time.
Yeah, and it's a good one at a really good time. I think you guys are going to be really excited to hear from Simon Becher, who's SLU's star in the MLS right now. Gets a goal in his first ever appearance, and we're fortunate enough to have him on the show this week.
Yeah, I'm excited because, I'm a soccer guy, but before we kick it over to Simon, I'm also a salsa guy. We've talked about it before and we introduced it. This episode and the whole season of the Midtown Madness Podcast is brought to you by Two Men in a Garden. That's right, the same company that delivers much-needed halftime electrolytes to Fred Thatch is now fueling this podcast with not only delicious pickles, but salsa, and most recently they released a Harissa sauce. I'm a huge chips and salsa guy. I keep at least a jar in my fridge at all times, and they have every level of heat and flavor you could ask for. They are the real deal. Their products are delicious and, more importantly, local to St. Louis, just like the majority of your 2022-2023 Billikens. You can pick up their many products at any local grocery store or online at twomeningarden.com. They deliver nationwide for $9.99 shipping. Follow them on social at twomensalsa on Instagram and Twitter. And now, over to our interview with Simon Becher. Billiken fans, as we mentioned in our intro, we have a really exciting guest for you. I haven't done my research on this, but he's the first Billiken soccer alum to score his first goal, his first professional goal, or his first MLS goal on his first touch in his first MLS cap. He is no stranger to finding the back of the net, as he scored 21 times in his Billiken career, including 2 NCAA tournament goals in 2021. And now he's with the Vancouver Whitecaps of the MLS. Simon Becher, welcome to the Midtown Madness Podcast.
Thank you, Zach. I'm excited to be here.
So, first game, first touch, first goal. Called up earlier in the week. Been kind of a whirlwind. I know you said you kind of were in the right spot at the right time, but, what's that like? I mean, it's got to be kind of a... just satisfying to know that they called you up and then you deliver right away.
Yeah. For one, to make my debut was extremely exciting. I was pumped up for that. I was excited. And then to score a goal, honestly, it didn't feel very real. And I think I was in shock for a little bit. But yeah, no, it was something I'll always remember. And, it's something I've obviously been working towards, your first MLS game, something I've thought of for a long time. And I don't think I could have written it any better. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a late equalizer too. It was a pretty crucial goal, and you say right place, right time. What kind of walk us through this play a little bit? It was a little chaotic. I mean, it took a deflection or two, wound up at your foot, and that was it.
Yeah. I think it ball over the top to Julian Gresso, who kind of cut it back to my teammate on the second team, Ali Ahmed, who took a touch inside and had a low shot that kind of deflected. And right when I saw him winding up to shoot, I kind of just focused myself on if there's going to be a rebound, I'm going to try to get it, because I was in a good spot pretty deep in the box. So I felt like I could get to it, and it didn't even make it to goal, deflected right to me. And at that point, it was just a reaction to try to flick it on goal. And yeah, right place, right time, and a big equalizer. And the winner came a few minutes after. I think we were playing, obviously points at home are, really important to pick up. And so we were playing Houston, who was just behind us in the standings. And then that kind of, I think, jumped us, right behind. I think 5 points separate fourth place and 10th place. So, that win was big going into the last 10 games of the season for them. Yeah.
You get called up, and when you get called up, what kind of indication were they giving you as far as expectations, anything like that? Were you kind of thinking you might get into this game, or was it kind of like, well, we'll see how it goes?
Yeah, so I think they have 4 forwards on the depth chart. One of them's out with a meniscus tear. Another one tore something in his abdomen. So they're already shorthanded. And then, so they were telling me that they were, I trained with the first team 2 days last week before I knew I was going to be on the bench. And then they told me I was going to be on the bench in the 18 on like Wednesday Wednesday. And so I was like, okay, so I was excited there. And then the next day, I think they had 5 or 6 positive COVID tests. So I was like, okay, there's a good chance I get in. And a couple of guys were telling me, hey, be ready. Like, we're going to need you. And then at that point, it's just kind of, keeping a level head. And I was just trying to honestly just bring some energy to the game whenever I got in. So yeah, it was kind of worked out pretty well for me. And, sometimes you just need an opportunity.
Yeah, so we were following really closely on draft day, because there were, leading up to the draft, it became clear SLU was going to have some names called, and we didn't know how many or in what order or when or anything, but it's a really exciting day for guys like us who follow SLU soccer, big fans of the program and talk about it every week. So we hear your name get called, but then it's like, what happens in those intervening months, between that day and the day when you score your first goal in your first appearance, because it's kind of hard to keep track of where everybody's going during that time.
Oh yeah. Honestly, a million things go on. Teams are trying to finalize rosters, teams are bringing guys in, teams are letting guys go. I think the draft was like 11th, 12th, 13th. I think I was in Vancouver the 16th, starting preseason. And so like it was a quick turnaround because of the World Cup year. So we'll finish early. We'll finish in late September, October, depending when playoffs finish up. And so, between them, it's a lot of learning the system. Obviously, being at SLU, being there for a few years, I didn't score the majority of my goals or my assists until my last year. It's kind of understanding the program, gelling with teammates and all of that. And so it's, learning, because the first and second team have the same system. So a lot of learning the system, a lot of getting like fit into my role. How am I gonna play? What does the coach expect of me? And then it's just a lot of hard work, a lot of even, there's days where you're with the second team. I was with the second team for a solid 5 months. And this was, the first time since I went to the preseason trip that I was with the first team. But when I went, I made sure I was ready. So, a lot of it is just kind of being ready whenever the opportunity comes.
I want to dial back the calendar a little bit further to the LIU Brooklyn game. That was maybe it's hard for me to say anything beats Billiken basketball, a sold-out crowd, but that came damn close. What was that like for you guys? I mean, not many college soccer players get to play in that atmosphere. How did you guys soak in that moment?
Yeah. Leading up to it, I think we were either going to play. So the bye in the NCAA tournament to us was a big deal. We knew that gave us a little extra time to prepare and, to be fully ready and fully fit for that. And then, so the home game we knew was going to be really big. And, the athletic department really, really marketed it. And, they got it out there. And of course, the St. Louis community loves sports. And so we knew we were going to get a big crowd. And then we saw we were playing LIU. The Blues invited us to a game in a box. We were there with the LIU Maryland game on, and LIU was getting killed. They scored very late. And so we were going crazy. We were like, we're going to win this game, And so, we were focused all week and excited. And then obviously nothing beats coming out to warm-ups, and there's already, 2,500, 3,000 people there. Then we finished warm-ups early. And then, 15 or 20 minutes before, and obviously that's when everyone's getting to the game, and you walk out and there's, 7,500 people there, people are shoulder to shoulder. So that was honestly crazy. And it kind of the culmination of all the hard work in the season and all of that, coming together, like that moment. I can see the picture in my mind of like overhead. It was just packed. So, yeah.
I was at that hockey game. Funny enough. So I remember you guys on the board, and I think I posted on our Twitter account. Like I took a picture on it. I want to talk about this Duke game because I was kind of proud of, well, not only you guys, obviously, because you guys did unbelievable, but Billiken fans in general, I think, and I mentioned it on social media, I thought Billiken fans really kind of put a little pressure on Duke and Thor. I thought kind of going at them for the drama that he caused in that prior game, I thought it was worth it to kind of get in their head and have them kind of worry about something else other than you guys. But going into that game, were you guys aware as much, or because there was a little bit of talking and obviously at the end of the game as well, we can get to, but tell me about kind of the lead up to that game with all that drama.
Yeah. We knew about it, and, obviously with social media, it's kind of hard not to. And, I think a big thing that we stressed was it could happen. They could try to, if they're that team that wants to get in your face and that team that wants to kind of stir problems, we kind of just have to stick to who we are. And, of course, we're all very close, and I would say we back each other pretty well. So if something happened, obviously back your teammates, but we were focused on kind of sticking to our game. And we knew obviously they're very talented. Obviously, Thor, they had, midfielder of the year, I think Peter Stroud as well, and, a very talented Duke team. So we kind of literally and figuratively knew they could throw some punches at us. And so it was kind of like expect it. And then, we also can play that way and can kind of, get the job done. So it was honestly a game we were really excited for because, I don't know, was it 4-3? And, kind of a crazy back and forth game. And we just kind of, I guess, stressed going into it that, as long as we continue to play our game and don't let them get us off of it, we had a really good chance of winning.
But you guys, you play your game, but there's still a little bit of, a little bit of extra, like Mason Leith scores and he kind of, blows a kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Walk us through that. Is it when you see him do that, is that like, are you guys like, whoa? Are you more like just ready to equal Duke's kind of banter?
Yeah, it's obviously, it's a part of the game. It happens all over the field, whether the camera sees it or not, whether it's, maybe giving them a shove off, off ball, or, pulling jerseys, or, exchanging some words. It's just all in the passion of the game, I think. So I wouldn't necessarily say it was in our game plan to kind of get under their skin, but, we knew that, maybe we could knock them off their game if they're kind of hot-headed in that sense, just give them a little extra while still kind of keeping our heads in a sense. But yeah.
Walk us through your goal in that game, because that play and the ball that was played and the way you kind of snaked around the Duke defender, was kind of like, wait, what just happened there? Walk us through that play, because that was weird, but like awesome.
I remember trying to get back on side because it was like a bouncing ball, and Alex kind of headed it towards me, and the defender was kind of in front of me. So I knew he wasn't going to get it and I wasn't going to get it. So I spun immediately. And I remember trying to find the ball as it kind of went past me. And as I was looking for the ball, I saw the goalie coming out fast and pretty quickly towards me. So I knew that, like, if I could just get a touch around him, and luckily the ball fell kind of nice to me. So I knew that he was coming out. And so I just kind of drug it across my body. And I think he thought I was going to try to shoot. and he was going to try to just slide. And at that point, I had the whole goal staring at me. So it was kind of like you see the goal and you're just trying not to miss it at that point. It was on my left foot. So one of those, the less you think about it, the better.
Yeah, nobody wants to end up a meme
Yeah.
on Twitter.
Yeah, and it puts you up 3-1. A lead that you guys needed the way that the last I don't know 20 minutes or so of that game went. I'm wondering about is like this. So the Thor, as Zach called him on Duke, winds up being one of the leading goal scorers in the country last year, and you were like right there with him a lot of the year. What does that feel like? Like who each other are, but like what does it feel like in game to go up against a guy like that? Versus like in the scope of the whole season, knowing like, hey, there's this other guy out there, and he's got some swagger and thinks he's a little bit better than me. How do you sort of relate those two together?
Yeah. I don't know, I feel like you always know who the best players are, and even in scouting reports, something we always identify. But honestly, I think it's something that when you're an elite competitor, I'm sure he probably thinks he's a better goal scorer than I am, and I think the exact same thing. So, it's kind of something that almost a pride thing that like you don't want to be bested by him, and so almost extra motivation to to want to perform. And I could tell you the guy on LIU had 15 goals going into our game. So it's something that I think I take pride in, whether I'm playing somebody else that has that. So, at least in that game, I'm gonna outperform them. I'm gonna you try to best them and kind of show that anyone looking at this game, maybe this kid's better. So I think it's a little extra motivation, at least for me.
I wanna circle back to the 2022 Billiken soccer team. This is a team that is ranked 10th in the preseason poll, has by all accounts seemed to reload, or at least everyone thinks they've reloaded. But there's a lot of guys that are new, and maybe guys that didn't get a lot of a run last season that are going to get a lot of run this season. Who should fans be aware of that maybe didn't get a chance to shine last season, that has have a chance to break out?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you're kind of looking at, we lost, I don't know, 8 or 9 starters coming out of it. But I think that, looking at last season, one of the things that made us so good was every day in training, there was competition. The depth from the bottom guy to the top guy was, everyone wanted to get better. Everyone wanted to push the other guy. So, I think that obviously they have Johnny Klein coming back. I would expect him to have a good year again. And I think, kind of pull guys, pull up the younger guys who are coming. I think Buendia in the midfield, obviously someone, with last year having someone like AJ in the middle, and, having myself who scored goals. I think he kind of flies a bit under the radar, but, he's a big part of that team. So I think Christian Buendia will have a good year. Seth Anderson, he was one of the freshmen who got time last year. I think he scored maybe 2 goals and an assist. And, I think draws a lot of, in my mind, comparisons to Johnny. He's not the biggest guy, but someone who really works and somebody who really, I don't know, I guess just like kind of grinds. If you think of Johnny, he's someone who's always picking up loose balls, running at defenders. He's got pace. He's got, he's quick. So I think Seth Anderson is someone who could have a really good year. I think the transfer from SMU came in. Lane, I believe is his name. I've heard good things about him. And, I'm sure that, some of the guys that, there'll be 1 or 2 guys that surprise us, I'm sure. Kalish definitely, him, Stoll, and Birch are really, really good at finding guys. And, I'd be surprised if I wasn't wrong in my guess on who kind of steps up. I think Eric Leggett is somebody who needed a little bit of time to, he was another 9, but I think he needed a little bit of time to kind of gel into the system. Like I was saying, you got to get used to the pressing, all the tactical stuff and all that. And, I think he scored a couple of goals in the spring season as well. So I think he could have a big season as well. But yeah, I think, again, with all the guys they're bringing in, they make sure the right guys are on the bus. So I'd be surprised if they didn't have another really, really good year.
So you told us you've got 10 games left in the regular season, really, really tight race out in the Western Conference. Have the Whitecaps given you kind of an indication of what their plans are for you going forward? It's just been the one appearance, and you guys have a game in a few nights here.
Yeah. I think it's a little hard to say, just because there's a rule. Since I'm with the second team, I can only appear in the 18 on the bench 4 times, and I can only make 2 appearances through the loan structure that I was loaned up with. And I think that is in part to protect me, so that if I am being used a lot and used continuously, it would require them to sign me to a first team contract. I think they're trying to, I guess, manage how they use me. I believe I'll probably make, with the injuries, I would guess that I'd make another appearance soon. I'm not sure how they plan to go about that. I'm not sure if it's just the one appearance they're looking, or it could be further, but I think opportunities will continue to come, and I think I'll be ready to take them when they come. So I don't really know what they're figuring out, because it has to do with roster compliance. It has to do with these guys might be injured, but they're still taking up roster spots. So I think they're trying to figure out the bigger picture, and I think kind of what, with all that stuff, how it'll work. So I wish it was as easy as they could just use me as much as they want, but.
Right. In the meantime, though, are you working out with the second team, or are you still working out with the first team, or how does that work?
I was with the first team today, and they had a couple of days off because I think they're coming into, I think that's another thing, they play Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday this week. And so with the injuries, they're a little beat up. So I think they're trying to figure out how they're going to manage getting through all that while making a playoff push. So, so it's kind of day by day. I don't really know what to expect. But I think I'll be ready for whatever happens.
Listening to you talk about the first training with the first and second team, all I can think about is Santi Munoz in goal. Like, that's all I have in my. In this podcast, this interview wouldn't be a Midtown Madness episode without me making an obscure movie reference. So, thank you for bringing that to my brain. By the way, the next opportunity that you might have for an appearance would be on the 13th of August. It'll be 9 p.m. Central Time at LA Galaxy, and Billiken fans can see that on ESPN Plus. If you do stick around, there's the potential for a matchup with Kip Keller on October 1st. Any thoughts on that? Any trash talk you want to throw his way before you head out?
No, I'm actually always texting Kippy, and obviously all the guys are texting me this week congratulating me, but that would be awesome. I don't know if Kip would enjoy it, but I certainly would. That would be pretty cool though. Yeah, he's always texting me, and he told me before the game, he was like, you'll do great, you'll probably even score, and I did, but yeah.
That's great. I mean, that's we're all rooting for you guys, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us. And I know it's going to be complicated, but we'll figure out how to follow what your next steps are, one way or another.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, and thank you for helping us do a soccer preview episode without even having, we didn't even have to do any work. So we appreciate that big time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, good luck the rest of the way, Simon.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
You too. Take it easy.
Thanks.
Pete, that was a lot of fun. I know you and I both love to talk as much soccer as our Billiken basketball first audience will allow us to. So thank you to Simon Becher. I cannot. I am going to try to watch any game he's in the MLS for.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, go, if you haven't seen it, go check out the highlight of his goal. Literally his first touch in the top league. Pretty incredible stuff. So it was great to talk to him.
We're a big time merch podcast. Obviously, if you're following us on Twitter today, we're now trying to make Junk Brands and Billiken Athletics collab happen out of thin air. It's my new favorite thing to do. But there is a Billiken adjacent merchandise story out there. SeriesSix, Pete, has some sweet ass shirts.
They do. I had not looked at their store in a while, and I'm looking at their restaurant section right now, and I'm trying not to buy 12 of these because these are like neighborhood joints that I went to my whole life. But they've got a Humphreys shirt, and it's perfect. It's like a heather grayish blue color with the old Humphreys font and the logo, the guy. And a big pitcher of beer with a big 1 cent on it. It is a delightful shirt. And Zach, I think we're probably both going to be ordering one of these.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go to the shop. I'm going to do it old school and go buy in person. I shop local that way.
Nice.
No, it's a gorgeous shirt. I'm not a big graphic tee guy unless it's Billiken related, and I guess this is Billiken adjacent. But some of these, I mean, obviously we're going above and beyond like Billiken at this point, but like the Mission Taco shirt is sweet. By the way, they sponsor Billiken Soccer. I mean, you mentioned the Mom's Deli while we were sitting here.
Yeah.
It's just there's 6 pages worth of these shirts, guys. They're cool. This isn't an ad. They're just that cool, and they're right. I think they're in both of our fashion wheelhouses.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even though you say graphic print tees aren't your thing, I mean, they look like these are all pretty nice.
They're
I like the
distressed. They're old school. They're they're tri-blend. They're soft.
Yeah, like a quality.
Yeah, like I don't mess with that Gildan stuff.
Yeah.
But go check them out. SeriesSixCompany.com. Also, SeriesSix Company. If you want to throw a little shirt our way, we'll talk.
But I mean, I don't want to skip the point either that this is you talk about shopping local. This is part of their Give Back series.
Yes.
So they teamed up with Left Hand Promotions for this series of shirts that they say showcases some of their favorite establishments. 50% of the profits from this line will benefit the staff showcased on the T-shirt. So as Humphreys is in the process of reopening, and I've seen some pictures lately, they're getting close. This is partially to benefit the staff. Early days of restaurants are really challenging. So anyway, it's a great way to tangentially support SLU, support Humphreys, and SeriesSix, another local company.
That's a Zach word, man. You've been hanging out with me too long. Tangentially. I use that as if it makes me sound smarter. Let's talk men's basketball because, that's why people mainly come and listen to us. There was an open practice on Friday, and it was not only open to the public, as I mentioned, but it was also available on ESPN Plus, and Colin Surrey was on the call for this one. Pete, you watched on stream. How did Colin Surrey do? And I mean, I think I know how he did, but tell everybody else.
Yeah, he was great. And it's just Colin, like it was just it wasn't like Earl and Rammer bouncing off each other. It was a one-man booth, and you can kind of tell Colin has that baseball training. He can really fill time. Because like when I was watching this as it was happening, like I was out with my family at Cincinnati's equivalent of Soulard Market. We were getting dinner. I'm like, I've got the phone like propped up on my son's water bottle, like kind of leaning there. I've got one earbud in, like kind of neglecting my children. So like I wasn't the ideal conditions to watch it in. But then later that night, after everybody fell asleep, I put it back on, and it was nice to watch the replay actually, because I could fast forward through a lot of it. Like there were some commercials, there was some downtime. I think I said at the time, like they used every bit of their TV timeouts and then some. So I was able to kind of fast forward through, but in the sections where I didn't, Colin was really filling the time. I mean, like tons of stats and backstories and kind of looking ahead. And then he interviewed Chris May for a few minutes right before the scrimmage started. But yeah, as expected, man, he did a great job. And the broadcast, it did have one section where it went out for like, I don't know, 45 seconds or so. But otherwise, it was great.
I'm gonna have to go through my text messages with Colin and see what he pulled from my text message, what he plagiarized from me. No, I'm kidding. I'm always happy to help him out. The kid's got talent, and he's way better at this media thing than we are. But in just a different way. He's awesome, and like I said, I didn't watch the stream. I was there.
Yeah.
And this was different than the previous open practice. There really were no drills. I think they did one set of drills to warm up, and then it was go time. Now, I would imagine they practiced for an hour and a half prior to the 2 10-minute half scrimmage. But yeah, it really was like there wasn't. I mean, it was an hour. It was great. Like I kind of got there and it started, and I go, "Dear God, please don't let this be 4 10s." Like I don't know if I can watch 40 minutes of basketball tonight.
Yeah, and it wound up being 2 10s, and they were constantly, changing teams. It wasn't like fixed teams or anything like that. They were swapping jerseys. So if you don't know the players' faces yet, the numbers weren't going to help you very much in this one. But what about, I'm wondering for the in-person experience, which obviously I didn't have, were there any differences aside from the scrimmage versus drill format? Like, concessions, was parking different? How was the crowd? What was different than the previous one?
You mentioned parking. That made me laugh. Parking was a bit of a nightmare. Not getting in, but getting out was kind of weird. It seemed like nobody in DPS was made aware, or DPS forgot that there was going to be event parking. So the gate was down, so people were literally having to pay on their way out. And I think maybe it took 12 cars. Like I sat there, and I thought I was going to be there the rest of the night. I was hunkering in for the long. I didn't have any snacks. I was freaking out. But no, the concessions they had, it was all the same. I think they offered a little bit more. I know I saw a kid with nachos. Not my scene, but good choice. Yeah, other than that, it was really not. I mean, there wasn't much to it. And I know some people said, online, like, wasn't a bigger crowd. There was nothing, like, nobody but us maniacs are going to drive 15, 20 minutes right after getting off work to go watch 2 10-minute, scrimmages. And I mean, if you would have done more than 2 10 minutes with the team that was on the floor, it was like kind of like, I mean, you didn't have Perkins. Perkins didn't do it.
Right.
Didn't do the
Yeah, he was on the bench.
Collins and Parker weren't there. So, I mean, we had no point guard. Fred, I mean, Travis even at the end said, he installed some offense to make this actually work.
Right.
20 minutes before they scrimmaged. So it was disjointed. There was nothing to really learn. It really was just a nice little key bump or a little injection of Billiken basketball.
Yeah, and speaking of the crowd, I listened to the little interview May did on his podcast with Travis Ford. They were both pleased with the crowds. Like I think they just opened it up and kind of kept everything bare bones and just said whoever shows up shows up.
Yeah.
And you get a few hundred people to those, and that's fine. You're right. It's the hardcores, the people who do need that mid off season fix. Get their eyes on some of the new guys.
Got any of them Billiken basketballs?
So and yeah, it's disappointing. You say, Collins wasn't in the house. Parker wasn't. Parker was. I actually just saw on his Instagram, I want to say today, that he's back. I know he was a little under the weather there. So we haven't had a good look at him yet. One of the comments I made was that seeing this team play without Yuri Collins doesn't really feel like a preview of what they're going to be, because everything flows through him. It's more of a preview for like the last 8 minutes of a game that we're up 20, because we're just trying different lineups, trying different things, giving the new guys some run. It's like a garbage time preview. I don't want to call it garbage
It's
time,
also a
it's
review of Northern Iowa.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that too. Yeah, did we have like 8, 6, 7 guys hitting 17 out of 23s? Anyway, but yeah, so it wasn't if you were watching this trying to get an idea of what we're going to look like in 3 months, this wasn't it. But it was great to kind of see everybody out there, except for the 3 we mentioned. And I think probably you and I are both in agreement that Fred Thatch was the best player on the floor.
By far.
Yeah.
Fred Thatch looked like a man amongst boys. His body language and command of the floor. He looked like he's ready to go and looks like he's Fred Thatch again,
Yeah. Yeah, he did a little bit of everything. I thought Okoro was really solid too.
Yeah, I like our bigs right now. It's hard to tell in these scrimmages because you want to see like smooth scoring. You want to see skill. But you remember that these guys play each other nonstop in practice, and they know everything.
Right.
Everything. About, they know what time they go to the bathroom. Like that's it's going to look disjointed. So these scrimmages, unless they're just doing them for high flying, dunks, and unless they're playing like an all-star game, you're not going to get much out of this because it's just going to look like chaos.
Yeah, the style was a little chaotic. I mean, like you said, this wasn't their offense. It was something Ford threw together to make it work a little bit. We do have a lot of newcomers. So as much as you say like these guys know each other, that really applies to the guys who are returning. We've got 4 freshmen, we've got 2 transfers. I thought Pickett and Forrester, they kind of look like nice, steady, solid veterans. There's nothing super flashy about their game, either of them, but I think they're going to be great players in this rotation. In terms of the freshmen, I thought they all showed flashes of what they can do, but all of them, made freshman mistakes too. I actually think Nick Kramer looks the most game ready right now of the 4. Thames probably looks the all-around most intriguing to me. And I know people have talked about him as a guy who might get some run as a backup for Collins. He's a little loose with the ball. He's obviously got to add to his frame, and he did turn it over a little bit. But I thought all 4 of them looked pretty good. I mean, Cisse is raw and has a more of a learning curve, I think, than the other guys, but that's probably not unexpected for a big man.
Yeah, I think you're right about Kramer. You look at he's got a college-ready body for sure. Physically, I think he's ready for the demands of Division I college basketball.
And he defends.
At any level.
Yeah.
And as you just hit the nail on the head. Defense is what is going to get you playing time. It's what's always gotten players playing time in Ford's system. So he's ready to go. I think Hughes will get a lot of playing time when his defense earns it. Hughes looks polished, smart, can shoot the damn ball. But again, you expect that because his dad is who he is.
Yeah.
He grew up in that, that world. He was going to be a basketball player if he wanted it. So, and he clearly wants it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And, one of the other, the other things I really liked, I mentioned Thames turning it over a little bit. One of the things I really liked there is even though he did cough it up a few times or maybe make a few passes he shouldn't have, he would go right down to the other end and then steal it. Like he stole it from Thatch. I can think of once or twice that just point blank he robbed Thatch. And I thought that was pretty great. Like he kind of like knew he made a mistake and wanted to make up for it. I liked that about his game. I remember kind of seeing that in in AAU ball last year that I watched them in the Peach Jam, and he kind of has some of that in his game. Like anytime he does something he's not happy with, he tries to make it up on the other end. So I think he understands that defense is kind of the key to getting minutes here too. But even if we don't see a lot of these four guys here this year, things open wide up next year, and I think they've all got really solid bases to grow upon.
I want to note something that probably didn't come across on the stream. Before we get into Ziagua and Courtney being the refs, and then the recruit that was in the house, Rebecca Tillett and her staff, and I think some of her players as well, were on hand. So they were out there supporting, stopped and chatted with her, thanked her again for coming on the show. I think, you know what, I remain intrigued, hesitant, all those things, but I think she's putting in the work, and that's all you really can ask for. And I'm very excited to see that team start out their season, and they're going to start it out running, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. The ref situation, it was nice to see that that Ziagua and Courtney took time from their day job at Foot Locker to ref this this rugby style basketball scrimmage that we watched.
Yeah, that was really, I loved watching what they called and what they didn't. It was really funny on that line. I don't know how, I guess this probably played better in person too, but I could kind of see it as well. The second scrimmage was neck and neck, and Courtney made a foul call with like 2.5 seconds left that put Okoro on the free throw line. His team was down one. He ends up burying both of them, and they wind up winning. And Ford, when they called the timeout, during the free throws or right after him or whatever, Ford goes right over to Courtney and starts giving him a rough time for what seemed like kind of a soft call. I thought that was pretty funny. He wasn't like in his face. I mean, he was just like kind of joking with them for the soft whistle. But yeah, it's the thing I really appreciated about it is they let the kind of like chippy stuff go. Like I could see even on my stream, I could see plenty of guys like pushing each other in the back on rebounds, and the kind of stuff that doesn't get called in practice that would be called in a game. And I, as somebody who sat through, hundreds and hundreds of practices in my years at SLU, I really appreciate that. So I that was, you could really tell that those were assistants or future assistants calling the game there. That was fun.
Talk to me about what 2023 target was in the house.
Yeah, McCaleb Rich, who we talked about last week, who has SLU in his top 7, was in the house. He's the kind of, I guess, 6'7". I don't know what he weighs. He's a really big guy. He looks like somebody who played football. To clearly on the other side of 200, big dude, and a really intriguing player who I like a lot, out of East St. Louis. He was there. He is not taking an official visit to SLU, or he hasn't taken one. He hasn't scheduled one. He does have a few other officials scheduled for some of his other finalists, including K-State, UIC, Ole Miss, and I think he's trying to get out to Mizzou as well. I don't know if SLU is going to get an official. I don't know if he feels as strongly about it, because we're local and he's definitely been on campus, but just to kind of give people a heads up there. Cian Medley was there on his official visit the day before, but he flew out before the scrimmage. Kennard Davis from Vashon took his official visit the day of the scrimmage, but I don't know that he was actually there. I don't think anybody spotted him. And somebody told us later that Luke Walsh, who's the 2025, he'll be a sophomore at Vianney, was also there as well with his dad. So yeah, we had some recruits there. I bet there might have been a couple more that either didn't get recognized or seen or whatever. So nice to see that in a live recruiting period that we've got a lot of people on campus.
Yeah, my buddy, I'll shout out Sean Scott, was actually on Cian Medley's flight on the way back. I think he was going to Philly. I don't know why, but yeah. He was texting me, asking me who he was, and I was like, oh yeah, that's guy. Then I texted you. So shout out Sean. I don't know if he listens, but no, one of the cool things during a scrimmage, and I think it was this. The two are blending together as far as what happened other than on the floor. There was a group of grade school kids that played, I guess, AAU ball on a super young level, and they were wearing random colored jerseys. They were all matching jerseys, but they were black with orange and blue, and then the girls' team was gray with some blue and then some pink, and their team name was the Bills. Huh. And they had the Billiken logo here, and the girls had the arch on the back. It was very cool. And I'm guessing it's some sort of program that maybe Travis has set up or the athletic department is sponsoring. I don't really know. But it was very cool to see, and very cool that the Billiken logo is getting some run on, kids' jerseys, because, I mean, I'm sure back in the day I took a white T-shirt that I had and made a makeshift Billiken jersey, You want to play, and playing a meaningful game in a jersey that has Billikens on it is cool. So
yeah, I mean, I wonder if it was camp related or anything.
No,
huh?
I don't think so.
That's interesting.
They had a trophy with them. The boys did. So
very cool. I don't.
Again, if anybody out there knows, comment on YouTube or tweet at us.
Let us know.
I need to do that more, where I tell people what to comment. All those weird YouTubers do that.
Yeah.
Comment Billikens down below.
We gotta have stuff scrolling on the bottom.
Yes, we need a crawl on the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, stuff like that makes fans for life too, man. I mean, yes. my daughter was not. I don't think she was even alive at this giveaway, but I think my son got it. They had it it was a superhero theme giveaway a few years back, and my son got a cape. It's it looks like
that's the only cape you really want your kid to wear.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want him to wear any other cape to school. That's a weird territory.
That's exactly right.
And he's Augie Farks from Role Models.
That's right. But she's been wearing it around everywhere. She wore it to the library yesterday. She wears it around the house. She pretends to be a queen, and that's her I don't know, in her mind, her 3-year-old head. But yeah, she's wearing basically a Billiken flag around as a cape.
Love that.
And yeah, I mean, that's that. I'm gonna take these pictures, share these pictures, and it'll hopefully get her on my side long term too. But yeah, I love stuff like that, man. Get to make lifelong fans out of these kids.
Let's talk about the foreign trip that's scheduled, and we're going to only do it in the language in which in the country in which they will be visiting. So let's start with Spanish. No, I'm just kidding. Let's recover. Let's run through their itinerary, Pete.
Yeah, so they depart on Friday the 12th from St. Louis. First stop will be Madrid, where they'll play Centro Basket. The game time will be 11 a.m. St. Louis time on the 14th. But like Travis was telling Chris May the other day, a big part of what they want to do in Madrid is to kind of hang around the SLU Madrid campus and kind of leverage that asset, really see what the experience is like, on the Madrid campus. Study abroad is something that athletes don't really get to do, and it'll be cool to
Unless
for
you're
them to kind of
Momo
see.
Cisse.
Yeah, that's true. So that'll be a good experience for them. And then they'll also hit Valencia, not playing there, but just to kind of visit before they head down to Florence and play the Italy All-Stars. That one's at 11:30 a.m. St. Louis time on the 16th. And then in Rome, they play Stella Azzurra at 11 a.m. St. Louis time on the 19th. Before they come back home on Sunday the 21st. So it sounds like it's going to be an amazing trip.
I wonder if obviously they're not going to be streamed, and they're not going to bring personnel necessary to make it happen. Light crew, obviously, it's astronomical to take, 25 people to on a trip across Europe. So understandable in that way, but there will be photos, highlights, news. I wonder if these games will be like ticketed events and fans will be there.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I don't know what it really is like from the other perspective. Like think about these. I don't know even what tier pro clubs they are. What is it? I get maybe it's just an exhibition for them. It's kind of a.
I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, I don't really know. But it's a good question to think about, like what it is from their perspective, because we think of it as, oh, we get to go over there, play these teams and get kind of tuned up a few months before the season. But I don't know what it is for those teams.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably should have done this research before we got on the.
Yeah, I should have as well. But in the meantime, while Zach looks that up, news update on Davell Roby, who was a grad assistant last season. He's actually going to go back to Europe and try and get his pro career started back up again. He signed with Overense Basketball, which plays in the top league in Portugal. I'm told that Overense, yeah, I don't know how to say it, is it's like a coastal town. Got a really nice beach town vibe. So it sounds like there are worse places to be than on the coast of Portugal. And in the meantime, former walk-on Brandon Courtney, who we've kind of seen around at the scrimmage as the ref, obviously, he's been in the back of a lot of the videos they put out on social media. So he will be the other grad assistant along with Thomas DeZagua. Those will be the two grad assistants for this season. So they're keeping it in the family still.
Pete, I haven't found anything yet, but we have found salsa that we love. Pete, tell the people again about the salsa and the pickles. Just tell them about it.
Yeah, so I'm going to be specific today. So of course we're talking about Two Men in a Garden, who are sponsoring us this season. And as Zach says, their salsa is great, as he got into earlier in the show. I want to tell you about bread and butter pickles, which are also Fred Thatch's favorite and the ones that he refuels with for game time. I don't like bread and butter pickles. I never have. They look weird to me. The color's like off. They're too sweet. Everything about them is just wrong. But as we got this deal set up, they sent me a nice little care package several weeks back, and it had like kind of just a grab bag of 6 different things. And what I liked about it is it wasn't all things that I would have ordered for myself, because when I did put in my first order for myself, it was completely different stuff. Before they sent this box. So they've got bread and butter pickles in there, and I was like, well, if they're sending me all this stuff to try, I'm going to try them. And I think I finished the jar in about 3 days. Like I said, they've never been my thing, but these are, if you want to try bread and butter pickles, or if you're into them at all, these are the best I've ever had. I mean, I probably always thought I didn't like them because I wasn't having good ones, and these are great. Two Men in a Garden, hit them up at Two Men Salsa on Instagram and Twitter. They are now in most grocery stores, I would say, around St. Louis. You'll find them in all kinds of I think they're in every Schnucks now. They're in some of the specialty stores. They're at farmers markets. 2 Men in a Garden salsa. Their pickles are every bit as good as the salsa.
And my research, I'm guessing that Stella Azzurra is a basketball academy in Italy. So I'm guessing they're playing people of a similar age or level. But other than that, it's all in friggin' Italian, and I speak English and a very minuscule amount of Russian. So I have no idea what the hell any of this says. And apparently I can't get a translate, or
It's
I don't.
European basketball information in general, even without the language barrier, there just isn't as much of it. It's kind of harder to find. Whenever we're recruiting anyone internationally, I don't know, I always have a harder time finding stuff over there.
Wait, did you just say recruiting, Peter?
I think I did, Zach.
Let's talk recruiting. Well, that was such a trash ass YouTube transition. I hate myself right now.
Yeah, comment below.
Comment recruiting if you're still watching.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of great recruiting news. Momentum has really, really picked up. Class of 2023, the first dominoes fell for SLU. We got a commitment. We already mentioned him, Cian Medley, who's a 6-foot point guard out of Camden, New Jersey. We talked about his offer a few weeks ago. We already mentioned that he had just left on his official visit before the scrimmage on Friday. Plays his high school ball for Camden High School, along with 2 5-star recruits, DJ Wagner, who a lot of people think is the top recruit in the whole class, Aaron Bradshaw, who's looking at places like Louisville, Kentucky, schools like that. I mean, these guys are both, the highest level players you can play with. They won a state title in New Jersey last season, and they all play AAU ball together for New Jersey Scholars Elite on the Nike EYBL circuit. Medley, even though he's playing with these 2 guys who are, the gate draw, who everyone's coming to see, he really manages to hold his own alongside them. He's a pure point guard. He's super talented, quick, got a complete guard skill set. He's really shifty getting to the basket, and he's fun to watch. Like, his highlight packages are great because you never know, and I think defenders never know when he's going to take it himself and when he's going to shoot. He's just kind of always got eyes in the back of his head. Really, really fun point guard to watch, and he can shoot it from outside as well. I mean, I really think when you look at his kind of offer list and everything, it doesn't really stand out. This is a case of SLU getting in at the right time, identifying talent that could be their next generation point guard. And if you need an endorsement beyond me, Yuri Collins himself, when he committed the other day, when Medley committed, Yuri said, "Yeah, this is the one." Actually, did he say that before he committed? I'm trying to remember, but he had Yuri's public endorsement on Twitter, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I think if you want to know about what kind of personality he is and what he brings besides his basketball talent, again, look no further than Twitter. Look at the way he's recruiting already. He's talking up commitments. Our next commitment that we're going to talk about. He's, I think, didn't he tweet at Davis?
He did. It was, and I don't know if it was Twitter too, but on his Instagram stories, so he got congratulated.
Oh, it was Instagram story.
After he committed, in his Instagram stories, you could see Kennard Davis from Vashon told him congrats, and he shared that congratulations and said, you're next, or you know what to do next. You know what to do. And then Kachi and Enze, who's a SLU offer out of the Philadelphia area, who we talked about a few months ago. Yeah. So he's a guy he knows from back home in Philly. And same thing to him as well. Told him, Enze told him congrats. And he told him, you're up next, or something along those lines. Same deal. And then, like you said, the other commitment that he's been talking to today, we just got a commitment as we record today. Yesterday, if you guys are listening to this new, Brock Weiss, who's a 6'10" big man out of Germantown, Tennessee, which is like a Memphis suburb. He played his AAU ball for the Arkansas Hawks, and on the Adidas Three Stripes circuit was the 5th most efficient scorer, which is pretty impressive because he's not just an at the basket big. A lot of what he does is, high pick and roll, and he can knock it down from, outside of the perimeter. Really good stretch big. And that wasn't always his game. He's really built out his game. It's remarkable how good he looks now compared to when we initially offered last year. Because this is another guy we got in really early on him. And he has absolutely developed as you would want. He's gotten leaner. He's really built out his game. SLU fans have been clamoring for a stretch big for years, and now we have one, and he's an incoming freshman, not just a transfer. So he's really effective inside and out, solid post player, pick and roll anywhere. He can create from that. He rebounds, he blocks shots. I think SLU fans are really going to like him. I think his dad is still an assistant football coach at Virginia Tech. So I know he kind of lived there for a while and moved back to Tennessee, but he himself, he played football for a couple of years in high school, and I think he gave it up to focus on basketball full time. And we're lucky he did, because he's really come a long way and looks like he's going to be a nice big in this league.
Yeah, it's an exciting last couple days, and I think these two guys are, it's a lot of fun on the college level when players try to hey, come play, let's do a big three, where is the NBA. It sucks when that happens. That blows.
They become villains in the NBA.
Yes, but in college, you're yeah, let's go, man. Let's do
exactly.
it.
Exactly.
But as we mentioned, again, Medley, a great guy. Or I don't know if he's a great guy. I never met him. Don't want to give, look, he's clearly a team guy. Yeah. Look at what he's already saying about Brock Weiss.
Yeah, he's one of, I think, my favorite today. In addition to, tweeting congrats and can't wait to run next season. He retweeted a highlight package, a minute-long highlight package from I think April, of Weiss, and said, and I think his comment was, "I'm watching this and thinking to myself, is there anything this guy can't do?" And then he's talking about them in the pick and roll next season, and you love it. You love it. It's
love it. It's so cheeseball though, and it definitely doesn't sound like something an 18-year-old would say. It sounds like somebody it sounds like something Ford said on The Visit that he's just repeating because it stuck with him.
But even if there is that aspect of public performance to it or whatever,
I love it. It's necessary now.
It's great. Yeah.
You have to have it to pull in guys that you've offered. And speaking of offers, Pete, new one out for 2024.
A new one out for 2024. This came in before the two commits. Not that it matters because it would be for the following year anyway. Michael Jenkins is a 6'6" wing from Woodside High School in Newport News, Virginia. We actually have offered to Trevor Smith, who's a 2023 guard from Woodside. We offered him I think he was our first 2023 offer years ago, but he's a Richmond commit in the end. So if anybody recognizes that high school, that might be where from. So he missed most of this summer AAU season with an ankle injury, but he did play the last weekend of July. Looked good in the event. I think he's kind of fully back now. He's a long, athletic wing, scores on 3 levels, guards pretty much any position in high school, which you can do at 6'6" if you're athletic enough. And he is. He's active. He's high energy. He's above the rim player. SLU is only his 5th offer, but he's going to be a junior, so there's a lot of time left to go. NJIT, Hampton, Radford, and Arkansas Pine Bluff are the other 4. I don't think his recruitment is going to stay at that level. This is yet another case of SLU identifying talent early and getting involved. He's a really fun player to watch. on film, and it's a shame he missed this summer because there's not a whole lot of video of him relative to others. So they've got a really good high school team, and I think we'll be seeing a lot more of them this winter.
That name reminds me of the SEC storied Miracle 3, where Michael Riley hits the 3 in like the '06 SEC basketball tournament that keeps people in the building. And then the tornado hits the Georgia Dome, and he saves a bunch of people's lives by making a 3-point. Great. If you have ESPN Plus, go watch it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. Women's basketball. We teased it earlier, but they are really entering a gauntlet of an MTE early on Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, our women's program has never played in anything like this before. The headline here,
I can't remember I can't remember the last time they played in like a named MTE that wasn't at a campus site.
right? Yeah, normally they've played in kind of lower level ones. This one's the Gulf Coast Showcase at Hertz Arena in Estero, Florida. It's Thanksgiving weekend, like Zach said. And the headline is the first round, SLU's going to face three-time national champion, Baylor. That I think that pretty much means we're the 8th seed in this tournament. But when you look at the rest of the field, Zach, I mean, it's pretty obvious why we would be.
Yeah, I mean, you got Michigan, Georgia Tech, South Florida, Air Force, Belmont, Villanova.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious, Tillett.
It's a gauntlet. I mean, out of these 8 teams, 7 of them had winning records last season, SLU being the exception. 5 of them were tournament teams. And the other 2, South Florida and Air Force, I think were both, I don't know if they were both 20-win teams, but they were well above 500, both of them. All of the teams that made the tournament, except Georgia Tech, won in the first round. Michigan actually beat Villanova to get to the Sweet 16. Baylor was up, I think they were a 2 seed in the tournament last season and lost, or they lost in the second round. So they went out earlier than normal. So it's not just that we're playing quality teams. This is like you would be hard pressed to find to construct a better MTE than this. I mean, it's to put 8 teams together with that much of a tournament present, with that much of like a blue blood presence. It's incredible. I'm hard pressed to squint and see a win in this. I would think. I would think
do we count as a tournament team if we have the sum of a coaching staff and players from a program that went to the NCAA tournament?
We're a half tournament team, a half tournament.
Yeah. We're an NIT team.
Yeah, basically. I mean, if so, assuming, look, I'm not counting on a win against Baylor, and then you play assuming you lose that, you play the loser of Belmont and Villanova, both tournament teams. So if you end up in the 7th place game against probably South Florida or Air Force and pick off a win there, I think it's a successful event, honestly, to get one win out of this thing.
Yeah, I mean, we should do something where we like have people Venmo and then we put a bet on the Billikens money line against Baylor.
Yeah.
Like everybody donates $1, and then if we win, we fund the show. Or I don't know what we do with it. We donate it to, I don't know. We donate it to the basketball program. I don't know.
They put it in their NIL pool or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, again,
that would be wild. That's an insane. Think about that for a minute. We're technically betting on a game on behalf of players. If the plan is to put, that's an insane proposition.
And
but
all above board.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. We may actually go viral for such a thing. Let's do that shit. I'm in.
that folks was not in the notes.
No.
I give a lot of credit to Coach Tillett and her staff for taking this on. This is just an incredible. It's not the kind of thing you have to do in your first season, but it clearly the opportunity arose, and I guess she's looking at this as like, she probably has more confidence in her team than anybody else. People look at SLU's record last season. They look at, maybe we lost our best player in Harbison, and probably most people who don't follow super closely don't think much of this team. But I think clearly she thinks they're up to the task to at least compete in this, and think it'll be a great experience for them. A lot of what I noticed kind of following A10 women's basketball last year, a lot of the programs in our league really do not challenge themselves scheduling wise. SLU got beat up in the non-conference last year. They were an injured team, didn't win much, and came into conference with a higher RPI than all but a few teams because, well, basically the whole bottom half of the league, they came in with a higher RPI despite their losing record and despite some of those other teams having much better records because they were just beating teams in the 300s. I'm so impressed by what she's doing here, and showing this much confidence in her program.
Yeah, I mean, you're instilling a mindset in people that are in your players that they belong. And
Yeah,
I think that definitely can go a long way. Let's talk about men's soccer, and I think we're gonna have to discuss again. We do this it seems like we're gonna end up doing this every season, where we decide if we put men's and women's soccer ahead of off-season basketball talk. That's a conversation we'll probably have, and I'd imagine at some point we probably will, depending on how the soccer season's going.
yeah, they're both going to be good again.
Yeah. We obviously spoke with Simon Becher earlier in the show. Pete, just run us back exactly how that happened, or what happened with him, and then talk to us about the start of practice.
Yeah, so Becher signed a short-term contract to come up to the top club for the Whitecaps against Houston on Friday the 5th. And, as we now know, his very first appearance for them, very first touch, right place, right time, good instincts, and good positioning, he winds up with a goal, a crucial equalizer in the 82nd minute. And then Vancouver wins in the 88th. And so now he's put them in the uncomfortable position of, they've got a lot of guys out, and they're not really per his contract, as he explained to us earlier.
Which was really interesting.
Really interesting. I had no idea that was the case. They really can't use him a lot. And when a guy does something like that in his first appearance, I think it does more than raise eyebrows, and it puts them in a situation where, they've got decisions to make. So I'm really excited for him and what he might be able to accomplish there. Just great stuff. And it really is coming into the men's soccer season where they're now, as of last week, ranked 10th in the preseason, getting ready to start some exhibition games. It's just a lot of good vibes around the program. They just started training on campus this week. They're using the new facility, like we saw the women get in there last week. And they just had their media day and team photos. And Zach, I mean, how good do those uniforms look this season?
Oh, they are fresh, as the kids say.
Yeah.
They look great. I wasn't necessarily a fan of. I like the crest. I'm a big fan of using that crest, but I think that just the overall jersey look is super nice.
Oh man, they look like $1 million. It's a perfect shade of blue.
Yes.
Everything is just the right size.
Yes.
Those are going to look awesome on TV.
I like the little yoke thing back here. That was really kind of reminiscent of the old World Cup jerseys with the circle.
Yeah, that's right.
Those were so cool. I love those. But yeah, the little yoke bag. It's a super fine detail that was actually really. I didn't even recognize it the first couple times I looked at it, but
yeah,
after the fifth time I was ogling the jersey, I saw that detail.
If they want to do a small production run of these jerseys for fans, I can pretty much guarantee you a sale. That blue one.
I can guarantee you a sell out.
Yeah.
Within a week.
Yeah.
If you do 25 well, you wouldn't probably do 250. If you do 250 equally spread out among medium, large, and XLs, you'll sell out really quick.
Yeah, they're great. Go look at the official men's social media accounts for those. But we're going to be seeing those in a couple exhibitions coming up.
Yeah, on the 14th at Missouri State. I'm not sure. We're not sure on streaming for these. We'll have to check back in on that and tweet that out. But on the 14th at number 19 Missouri State and versus Omaha on the 20th. On the women's side, a couple of exhibitions coming up. Tomorrow night, actually, or tonight. When you listen to it, the women's soccer team will be hosting Lindenwood, and then on the 13th they will head to Evansville. So get out tonight and check out that game. Unfortunately, I'll be at Dispatch and OAR. Sorry, Katie Shields, I'll be missing that game. Cross country, a little bit of news, Pete. Run us down that real quick.
Yeah, just to let people know, cross country's got their schedule out. They just released it. They're gonna head out to Mizzou on September 1st. They've got their own invitational down at Jefferson Barracks on the 17th of September. They're gonna go up to Loyola, Chicago on Friday, September 30th. And they're going to run down in Stillwater, Oklahoma on October 15th. And I believe that's the same for both men and women, but I'm going to double check right here. Yeah, same schedule for both the men and the women. And then and also they just released their full track cross country class on the official website. It's a 17-member class. That will be, eligible this academic year. 9 men, 8 women join the program. Check out slewbillikens.com. That has a complete rundown of everybody they've added to the roster. But to hear it in John Bell's own words too. It's always cool to hear what he has to say about his athletes. Running that program is such a, I love talking to him because you realize what a job that is in how many different moving parts there are and how many different things the head coach is responsible for, and he does it, really, really well.
Yeah, if he ever wants to get out of coaching, I'm sure there's a nice cushy job in logistics ready for him.
Project management.
Yes,
there's so many things to think about.
He could make 6 figures doing project management and logistics. Volleyball has an exhibition versus SIU Carbondale on the 17th, and then field hockey will be on the 18th. Before we go, Pete, we gotta let the listeners know our recording schedule. I will be out of town next week. We probably will record Sunday. We're not let them know because I forgot.
So we're going to take a week off. You won't hear from us next Tuesday. Like Zach said, he'll be out of commission a little bit. I'll be out of town a week from today as we record. So we're going to get back into our Sunday schedule starting on August 21st. That episode will release on the 22nd. So you're going to have about 12 days between this episode and the next one. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about then. The full release of the men's and women's basketball non-conference schedules. I bet we'll have plenty more basketball recruiting stuff to talk about. Obviously, there's going to be more soccer. We'll have all these exhibitions to talk about by then, and fall sports will be getting underway and in their regular seasons by then. So that episode will be chock full of good stuff for you guys. But yeah, it'll be a good little over a week and a half before you hear from us again.
That wraps up the week that was in Billiken Athletics on the Midtown Madness Podcast, brought to you by Two Men in a Garden. Follow us on Twitter at Midtown Mad Pod, at Peter is a Tweeter, at Zach Miller MMP, and on Instagram at Midtown Mad Pod as well. We appreciate all suggestions you might have for the show, so drop us a line if you feel like you got something we need to know or could do better. Go subscribe to the show on all platforms. Leave a review if you're feeling generous, along with 5 stars. As always, Pete, go Bills.
Go Bills.